Okay, here's the monitor out of the Gardner D9400. Just got done capping it. There's the caps. There's one of the bad caps. You can see where it's swelled. There's the other one at, and there's the other one that's swelled. I put an ESR meter, which measures the ohm resistance. It uses very little voltage, so you can actually test them in circuit. I tested this one in and out of circuit, and it is, I can't even get a reading on it. Normally when they're bad like this, you'll get a real high ohm reading, and when these go bad, they'll screw up everything. Now the other problem I got is right here. Let me move the game out so I can see a little easier. This is the horizontal and vertical yoke winding, which is right here, and this is part of the TV, and like I said, this is fried right there. So I got another one. I'm going to doctor it up and replace it, and then I'm getting ready to put this cap in. This might have been what burned, because there was something that cooked and smoked, and that might have been this right here. Hopefully the yoke winding's good. I probably ought to shine a light in there and make sure it ain't nothing burnt on that yoke winding, because whatever cooked that right there may have cooked that up there. If that's the case, then I have to get another tube, because this yoke is glued in place, and by the time you try to take it off, you'll probably bust the tube, because it's real thin back here. The front of the picture tube's real thick because it's got lead glass in the face of it to cut down on the x-rays. Okay, I'm back on this. I went ahead and I recapped the kit. Now, prior to this, I got it working. What happened was, I got the game. The cap, I didn't look it over real good before I messed with it. But when I plugged the Gardner D2005 in, I took a chance because they said the monitor didn't work. So I said, oh, what the heck, it was unplugged. So I plugged it in and I heard it clicking. I'm like, well, that sounds halfway decent. And I had the heater voltage on the tube. So with that in mind, about the time I went to unplug it, and I heard this big arcing and smoke, and what happened was, when the cap was off, it was laying on the neck board, which you couldn't really see, because approximately about right here would be the bottom of where the door goes on. So from here up was all covered in wood. And then when I unplugged it, I just walked away from it frustrated, figuring like, well, it's screwed. The game board was booted, the game board booted and everything. I figured that high voltage probably goes right through this circuit, goes right into here, right into the plug, right into the circuit board of the Gardner D game. But I got lucky. What happened, it must have arced against the ground somewhere up here. So I plugged the anode cap back in, and the picture come on, but it was dull. Oh, not dull, but kind of dim. I'm like, dang on, at least I got it, that's a good starting point. And I had very little red. But when I went into the menu, I could turn the red gun back up through the menu settings. But when you turn the game off or turn the TV off, monitor off and back on, the red was back down to almost zero. And as in the video, this cap was bad. There was another cap. There was a few caps that were swelled, and I put them on my ESR meter, and I couldn't get a reading on them. So I don't know what the deal with that, why you couldn't read it, but it didn't want to read none of them, even on a regular meter. So I went ahead, ordered a cap kit, recapped it, went to go put the monitor back in the game. All the clicking went on. The heater voltage was there, and nothing, no monitor. I'm like, daggone it. So actually, before I put the chassis back in, I went miraculously all over this chassis, double checking my caps, with my list, and everything was identical. So when it didn't work, I brought it in, went clear through it again, matching up with another chassis I got, and everything looked good. So I pulled it in, and I got my little test fixture hooked up to it, and I measured my voltage here. I had like 7.9 volts. I measured over here, I had 11.9 on that test point right there. And then I had voltage of 2.94 inside test point 2. And I checked some voltage down here at 163 and stuff like that. And I checked all my voltages on my neck board, and I had 133 like that. And I know I had my heater voltage. So I went over the whole board and looked for cold solder joints, and on the main board I found a few solder joints that was cold. Well, I looked over this neck board real good, but evidently I must have been sleeping, because I'm going to get the camera on it. Right here, well, I can get to it. Well, I'm trying to zero in on it. It's right here. I can't focus it in. There we go. There's a cold solder joint. I don't know why it's not focusing. So I'm going to go through and resolder that. Like I said, I recapped it. So I don't know what the deal is with it. Why it's doing what it's doing. I'm hoping that is the problem. It was a cold solder joint that I missed. Here's one of the caps that I took out. As you can see, it's swelled. But I tried an ESR meter on it and it will not read. I had like 2 or 3 of them that way. So I hear a lot of horror stories about these Gardner's D9400 chassis, and well, hopefully I ain't got one of them nightmare chassis. So, okay. Okay, I got her soldered. I picked this up on eBay. Actually, I kind of like it. You join on. Hopefully I wasn't cussing in Chinese. But I used that when I recapped it, and I like it. I mean, it's a cheapo, but it's something I don't do every day. It's not like I make a living doing this. And no more I would ever use that. I doubt if I'd ever burn it up. Now, for a lot of you guys out there that works on these TVs all the time and heavy into electronics, you probably want to spend the money and buy you a good quality one. But that one seems to be doing the job I need to do. If I did this for a living, and yes, I would probably have a good one. I'm using my old Radio Shack Pro meter because I got my nice Fluke, and I'm not using my Fluke when I mess around with TVs because, especially with this anode cap, if I touch something wrong there, I'd definitely cook that real good. Okay, well, that's soldered. Now I'm going to plug it in on my makeshift plug. Oh, it's either going to go or blow, I guess is the old saying, right? Well, something different. Now I don't hear a whole bunch of clicking. Well, it's still clicking. Let me get into mode. Yeah, it still didn't fix it. Huh. Why it ain't special? So for some reason I'm not getting the high voltage. Why, I have no idea. Let me get my meter out. Getting 11.34 volts here. Back here in the back resistor, I'm only getting 0.7. Ain't nothing on that other one. Back here on this jumper, I'm getting 160. Now my neck board, I'm getting 3.8, 138, 6.32, that's probably my heater. 5.5, 5.4, 130. Looks like 34.6, 120, 130, 11.32, 210, and this one here I'm getting 4.6. So, if anybody out there got any ideas what the heck it could be the problem, I'd sure like to know. As I said, it worked prior to the cap kit, but it wasn't 100% right. Now, the other thing that was wrong with it, right down here, the horizontal vertical winding plug, well, let's see, what one would it be? The red and blue, I think. Yeah. I showed on the other video was completely toasted. I mean, it crumbled and it wasn't even making connection. So I just wonder, maybe is there something wrong with the yoke board, and the board senses that it's not right and it's shutting it down. What I'll do is, I got another monitor out there. I'll go do an ohm reading on the horizontal and vertical on it, and maybe I can see if there's a problem with it, and if so, maybe swap the chassis back out and see if that's the actual problem. But I know that had to be a problem with not being hooked up. But okay. Originally with this here, with this monitor and chassis, it's all the same. It came as a kit, or came complete. But when I got it, when I was telling you about where the cap come off and cooked over here, and well, for some reason, when I hooked it back up, I got it to working, but the screen looked okay, except, like I said, the previous problems with the collars. But right here where the red wire goes into this yoke, that thing was completely burnt so bad it just crumbled in your hand, and I know the red wire wasn't making contact. So I got thinking, after I capped it, put it all back together and replaced that to see if it'll work, I can't get the high voltage. So that's kind of blown my mind to like, what the heck's going on here? Because I had the heater voltage, I have voltages back here. So now with that in mind, I'm going to plug it in. It done everything it's supposed to do. And now I'm going into my menu board. Wait till it come up. There. See, I got a green light. Or green beam. So now it's telling me that I got something going on. So now that's telling me I don't want to leave it like that very long. I don't know if that would affect it or not. So now that's telling me I have something wrong in my yoke, down here. So now what I got to do is I got to pull it apart, and I guess start looking around and finding out where the problem lies. Try to start running down circuits and figure out why that, because like I said, it was completely cooked. So, or maybe something else bad in there, maybe a bad resistor or something in there. I don't know, but I'm about to find out. Now, this is the post that was burnt in the picture. It comes down to here. There's a ceramic cap here. It looks like a diode and maybe a Zener diode right there. And it comes around. This is the horizontal output transistor. Then it comes up to here to a three-legged transistor, which is the grounding is cut off. Then it goes over to the jumper. This jumper, I believe it was this jumper here. Dang it. This jumper here is where I did my measurement. I had like 163 volts. And that goes to this leg here. And that circuit goes on. But this, I can't hold this thing steady. I'm trying to focus it. This leg right here is what's tied to the burnt thing over there, which is tied to this transistor. This is a transistor, but there's no number on it. So I have no idea what type of a transistor it is. I don't know if that is the vertical for the vertical, which it probably is, because that was probably the vertical winding. This is horizontal. I don't know. Like I said, there is a few things in the circuit that I got to check. But then again, that's pretty much it. It goes from here to somewhere else too. I haven't looked at that yet. So somewhere into here, like I said, when I unplug the vertical and horizontal winding plug, I get that green dot, green circle on the tube. So that means there's something going on here. And that's what I got to troubleshoot.